Well, I hope that you've had a good day today. If you haven't, I hope that the rest of the week will treat you well. As always, if you are sick or you are hurting, we want to let you know that we love you and we're praying for you and we wish you a speedy recovery. And if we can do anything for you at all, we just ask that you would ask us. I think we don't have any announcements tonight. If we do, I'll mention those towards the end, but I don't think we have any announcements tonight. We're still in the book of Job, but we're not in Job chapter 1. We're in Job chapter 2 tonight. So if you haven't read Job chapter 2, please pause the video, go read Job chapter 2, and then come back. If you have, we will hit the ground running tonight. You remember last week, we transitioned from the earth to heaven, and we saw the divine council and the sons of God, the angels, came to present themselves before Yahweh, and this mysterious figure, the Satan, comes before them. And, God asks, where have you come? And he gives his response. And Yahweh says, well, have you considered my servant Job? There's no one like him on the earth. And Satan starts to question Job's motivation for why he does what he does. Well, Yahweh, you know why Job fears you, right? Do you know why? It's because you've put a hedge around him. You've blessed him. But if you took away those blessings, Job would surely curse you to your face. And you know the rest of the chapter. He loses everything. It's almost like in staccato-like statements, just bang, 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 bang. He loses his livestock. He loses his children. He loses his possessions. And he's hurt. He's suffering. And we wonder, is Job going to curse God? As the Satan suggested. And he says something very beautiful. The Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And we get into chapter 2. And we're back in heaven again. There's this day again. The divine council is meeting. Job chapter 2, verse 1. And there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and the Satan also came among them to present himself before the Lord. I mean, almost identical to what is said in chapter 1. And the Lord said to the Satan, from where have you come? Sounds familiar. The Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro on the earth and from walking up and down on it. And the Lord said to the Satan, have you considered my servant Job? There is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, one who fears God and turns away from evil. Familiar. He holds fast his integrity. Although you incited me against him to destroy him without cause. Yahweh tells the Satan, you question Job's motivation for why he fears me. You said he fears me because I have blessed him. And if I would take away the blessings, Job would curse me. That's what you said. But we took away the blessings, and where is Job? Job is still with me. You see, he's blameless and upright. He truly loves me. He holds fast to his integrity, although you incited me. You stirred me to do something that I wouldn't normally do. I mean, Job is this man who's done nothing wrong. To destroy him without cause. He hasn't sinned in such a way to deserve the amount of suffering that he's endured. Verse 4, then the Satan answered the Lord and said, skin for skin. Now what is this? What does this expression mean, skin for skin? Well, scholars have proposed a number of options, but it seems a majority of scholars have come to the agreement that the phrase means something like somebody will trade something that they have for something else of equal or more value. Okay, so maybe the Satan here is saying, you know what, God? Okay, all right. You're right. I told you it's because you've put a hedge around him. That's why Job fears you. But you know what? A man will freely give up his possessions if it means you won't take his life. Okay, seems reasonable. Skin for skin. All that a man has, he will give for his life. But stretch out your hand and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse you to your face. It's true that Job's children were part of Job's bone and flesh. They were taken away from him in chapter 1, we remember, but that didn't cause Job to curse God. The Satan says, oh, okay, Yahweh, if you touch Job's literal bone and his literal flesh, he will curse you to your face. There will be no reason to continue to worship, for him to continue to worship you, if he's about to die. And Yahweh said to the Satan, behold, he is in your hand, only spare his life. So that's what you think. You think if I let you touch his physical being, then he'll curse me. That's what you think. All right, go. Only spare his life. So the Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and struck Job with loathsome sores, from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. And he took a piece of broken pottery with which to scrape himself while he sat in the ashes. These painful boils. He inflicts Job with a painful disease. What disease? You know, a lot of people have thrown out their opinions on that. I'm not so sure we can say we know for sure the disease that Job was struck with here. We know it's painful. Now, remember that Job has no idea of the conversation that has taken place in heaven. In Job's mind, who's the one responsible for his suffering? God. God is the one responsible. God is the one that has struck him with this disease. And in Job's mind, death is soon to follow. So he takes pieces of broken pottery, scrapes himself, maybe for relief, probably. That's probably what he's doing. while he sat in the ashes. Cities would have had ash heaps where they would go and they would dump the ashes from their ovens, and people who were suffering, grieving, that's where you could find them. Verse 9, then his wife said to him, do you still hold fast your integrity? Job, what are you doing? Do you not see what has happened and what's happening now? Do you think it's really worth it? Curse God and die. Curse and die here. They're imperatives. Job, I'm commanding you. Curse God and die. It's not worth it anymore. Get rid of your integrity. His wife, instead of seeing his integrity as his greatest asset, maybe here sees it as a weakness of Job. It's clouded his thinking. He's not thinking reasonably anymore. Job, it's not reasonable to think that you should have to go through something like this. Curse God and die. But he said to her, you speak as one of the foolish women would speak. Do you know what you're saying? Do you know who we're talking about here? Do you know who I would be cursing? Shall we receive good from God and shall not receive evil? In all this, Job did not sin with his lips. What do you think that means? In all this, Job did not sin with his lips. Your lips. That was the way, and still is the way, that you express your thoughts, your deepest thoughts. When you're striving for moral purity, your lips, they're the hardest to control. There's not a hint of, maybe that's telling us, I should say that. Maybe that's what's trying to be said is there's not a hint of wickedness in Job. Job's wife, this is the only time that we read about his wife. We don't know who she is. Jewish tradition has said that it's Dinah, but we don't know. And sometimes I think that we're maybe a little too harsh on Job's wife. I mean, I know what she says, that's bad advice. But maybe we should stop and think about what she's lost. She's lost everything too. She's lost her children. And now she's certain that she's going to lose her husband. And she loves him. She doesn't want him to suffer anymore. Just go ahead and get it over with, she says. Just go ahead and do it. Curse him so that you'll die. She's suffering too. She's grieving too. And you know what? Sometimes people handle grief in a healthy way. Sometimes people handle grief in an unhealthy way. That's the nature of suffering. Learning what we do with our grief. Learning how to deal with our grief. Verse 11. Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that had come upon him, they came each from his own place. So Job has some buddies, and somehow they know about what has happened to Job. That's pretty reasonable. I mean, if he's the greatest of all the people in the East, there would have probably been a lot of talk going around. They hear about it, so they come. They might have had a covenant with Job in their friendship. We'll be there for you when bad things happen. We'll be there to console you and try to get you back on your feet. His friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, they made an appointment together to come to show him sympathy and comfort him. And when they saw him from a distance, they did not recognize him. How bad is Job's physical disease? Well, it's bad enough that his friends don't recognize him from afar off. Things are not good for Job right now. But nevertheless, they're coming, and they're going to try to comfort him and to console him. Like I said, get him back on his feet. And they raised their voices and wept, and they tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads toward heaven. They're grieved too, looking at their friend in such a horrible state. It hurts them. So they throw these ashes heavenward on their head. And they sat with him on the ground 7 days and 7 nights. And no one spoke a word to him, for they saw that his suffering was very great. They don't speak, they sit down. And for 7 days and 7 nights, no one says anything. Probably, they don't know what to say. But things are tense. Things are tense. Now, it's interesting that we as readers, we're set up to believe that after Job is afflicted with this terrible disease, that we're going to transition back to heaven and then everything's going to be all right. But we're still on earth, so we're going to have to see how it plays out with the friends. But remember, as we get into chapter 3, the friends are not aware of what we get in chapters 1 and 2. They're not aware of what has happened in heaven. All they know is their friend is suffering and he has this terrible disease, so he must have done something wrong. So if we're going to get him back on his feet, we need to get him to confess his wrongdoing and repent so that God will restore him. We'll be in chapter 3 next week. If you have any questions, leave them below. I've enjoyed our study tonight. I can't wait to see everybody Sunday morning, Lord willing. I hope that you have a great rest of the week. God bless.